नमस्कार श्री Ramakrishna Kathamrita Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhiridhitam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadaadatam Bhuvigrunantiye Purida Janaha Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita Pratham Bhag Shaptam Khundo Ar Dvitiyo Porichhed. And before we start our reading from the second chapter of the seventh section, the first volume of Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna in Bengali, let us offer our salutations to the writer, the compiler of these wonderful teachings of Sri Ramakrishna, Sri M. Sri Sri Jukto Mahendranath Gupta. Today happens to be his birthday as per the Indian Bengali calendar. Today is the Tithi Puja. So, salutations to Sri M for giving us this wonderful blessing of the words of Sri Ramakrishna that he so painstakingly noted down in his personal diaries, and then later on he elaborated on all those short notes into this great treasure of five voluminous volumes of Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and which generations after generations people are getting benefit. Not only benefit, they're getting blessed by reading these nectarine words of Sri Ramakrishna. So, with that salutation to Sri M, now we take up what Sri Ramakrishna is telling uh, his beloved disciples sitting in his room in Dakshineshwar, Odharshen, Balram Bose, and of course Sri M. Till now, Sri Ramakrishna has spoken about, his visit to that Malik's house, and although it was totally unkept place, surroundings, the image of Mother Shimhavahini, Mother Goddess, a form of Goddess Durga, riding on the lion, Shimhavahini, it was so luminous. It was spiritually illumined, although the surroundings were in a shabby condition, a totally dilapidated house. And Sri Ramakrishna says all this thing happens because of the past deeds, because of the prarabdha karmas. But even under those circumstances, Divine Mother, in her full glory, full, fully spiritually illumined, the illumination Sri Ramakrishna could perceive. And then he had also spoken about his experience in Vishnupur, where he sensed the presence of, he actually had the vision of Divine Mother in the form of Mrunmai. He had entered ecstasy just by thinking about, oh, that wonderful smell of the oil of the ointment that ladies they give as an offering to the Divine Mother. And then later, some more devotees came and joined, and then there was a talk of riots and coup and war in Kabul, and to take away Sri Ramakrishna's attention towards the topic spiritual. One devotee, he said, the ruler of Kabul, Yaqub Khan, he was a great devotee. Sri Ramakrishna, who is never interested in the, these worldly talks. The moment this devotee started, changed the topic towards a lot of devotion by telling that that ruler of Kabul, Yaqub Khan, was a great devotee. And the moment he uttered that the great devotion of Yaqub Khan, he brought it into the discussion. Then Sri Ramakrishna says, yes, devotees, they have to, they undergo. And it is not only devotees, any being, the moment a person, a being takes form in the body, the pleasure and pain they start accompanying him. That is the basic characteristic of getting embodied in the body. Sri Ramakrishna said, Dukho dukho deho dharoner dharma. No one can avoid it. No one can escape from it. The moment a being, the moment that Jivatma takes birth in the form of a body, the moment the body is there, and pleasure and pain, they start accompanying that bodily existence of the Jivatma. And then Sri Ramakrishna gave those two beautiful examples of one of Kalubir and another of Srimanto. In spite of being the great devotees, Srimanta's mother was the beloved daughter of Divine Mother, and in spite of that, he had to undergo so much suffering, so much torture. He was taken to the cremation ground, about to be cut to pieces. I mean, what more suffering, what more torture a person can undergo? But it happens. Although devotees, yes, they also have to undergo, they cannot escape it. Although they are great devotees, although they are beloved children of the Lord, although they are beloved children of the Divine Mother, suffering nobody can escape. Now Sri Ramakrishna further tells about another devotee. একজন কাঠুরে পরম ভক্ত ভগবতীর দর্শন পেলে তিনি কত ভালোবাসলেন, কত কৃপা করলেন. Now Sri Ramakrishna is giving us an example of another devotee, a woodcutter, Kathure. Kathure is a woodcutter. Now Sri Ramakrishna is telling, from Bhakto, he was a great devotee. Bhaktir Darshan Pele, he even had the vision of the Divine Mother. Like Sri Ramakrishna had the vision of the Divine Mother Murmai at Lal Band near her temple in Vishnupur. So Sri Ramakrishna says this woodcutter, he was such a great devotee, he had a vision of the Divine Mother. Bhagavatir Darshan Pele. তিনি কত ভালোবাসলেন. The Divine Mother, she had bestowed such, she loved this woodcutter, this child of hers so much. কত কৃপা করলেন, so much divine grace she had bestowed on this beloved child of hers. কিন্তু তার কাঠুরের কাজ আর ঘুচল না. Such a blessed child of the Divine Mother, he could not avoid his working as the woodcutter. For his daily earning, for his bread and butter, he had to keep on working like a woodcutter. সেই কাঠ কেটে আবার খেতে হবে. Sri Ramakrishna says, this woodcutter, in spite of, he was blessed by the Divine Mother. He had the vision, direct vision of the Divine Mother. Even then, was there any change in his lifestyle? Was it that he suddenly became riches and all? No. He still had to earn his living by cutting wood. He could not get rid of his karma. He still had to earn his living. Shei kaat kete abar khete hoye. For his daily bread and butter, he had to continue cutting the wood, take it to the market, sell it, earn some money, and then procure some groceries, and then have the full meal. He had to undergo all this. Not that Divine Mother has blessed him, given him a vision, so all his work and all his worries are suddenly over. No. Karagare. Now Sri Ramakrishna is telling again, what about these ordinary souls? Forget about these ordinary devotees like Kalubir or Srimanto or even this woodcutter. Now Sri Ramakrishna is telling, কারাগারে চতুর্ভুজ শঙ্খ চক্র গদাধারী ভগবান দেবকীর দর্শন হলো, কিন্তু কারাগার ঘুচলো না। What happened to the mother Devaki, the mother of the Lord himself? Forget about no devotee, nothing, mother of the Lord. In that prison of her brother Kansa, who had imprisoned his sister Devaki and her husband Vasudev, because there was an announcement that Devaki's eighth child will be the reason for Kansa's death. Kansa will die at the hands of eighth son born of Devaki. So what he had done, he had put his sister in the prison, and as her sister and her husband Vasudev in prison, and as they were living in the prison, then Kansa was till the eighth child, he was taking care of them, because he didn't have any uh, damage. He didn't have to be afraid of the first 7 children. He was only told that her eighth son will be your uh, death. That eighth son will bring you death. So Kansa had very nicely kept Vasudeva and Devaki in the prison, thinking, I will look after them, and the moment they start, Devaki starts giving birth to their children, I will kill them. Now, with that intention, he had kept his sister and brother-in-law in the prison. But what happens? They are sitting, imprisoned in the jail. Devaki had the vision of the four-armed Vishnu declaring that I am going to be born to you as your son. But did that vision of the Lord, did that assurance from the Lord, did that promise from the Lord that I am going to be born as your son, did that help Devaki and Vasudeva to get out of the prison? No. They had to be there, remain in the prison till the eighth son was born, and that is another story then what happened after that. But to cut it short, even Devaki could not avoid undergoing all that suffering and pain, being imprisoned by her own brother. In spite of having the vision of Lord Vishnu, with four-armed Lord Vishnu, with the holding conch, discus, mace, and lotus, all those typical the things that Vishnu holds in his four hands. But her imprisonment did not end. She had to continue. And then what happened? Master Moshai, Sri M, he makes a comment. When the moment Sri Ramakrishna spoke about Devaki's imprisonment being continued, and it didn't come to end with, even in spite of the vision of four-armed Vishnu, Sri M says, Master, শুধু কারাগার ঘোচে কেন, দেহিও তো যত জঞ্জালের গোড়া, দেহটা ঘুচে যাওয়া উচিত ছিল. Now, rarely Sri M makes a comment, but the moment Sri Ramakrishna gave this vision of Devaki being imprisoned and remaining in prison in spite of having the vision of four-armed Lord Vishnu, Sri M says, why speak only of ending the imprisonment? You're saying only, okay, she remained imprisoned. Why talk about only শুধু কারাগার ঘোচা কেন, দেহি তো যত জঞ্জালের গোড়া. The body itself is the source of all the troubles, all the pains, all the sufferings. Body is the culprit, being imprisoned in the body. M was actually just repeating Sri Ramakrishna's words about Shukha Dukkho Deho dharuner dharma. And so Sri M says that this body is the culprit. The moment the jiva takes birth in the body, the all the troubles they start. Dehi to joto jonjaler gora. Dehota ghuche jaba uchit chilo. The best thing, rather than getting out of the prison, it would have been better for her to free from the body and merge with the self. Now look, Sri M, who was a staunch believer of the Nirakara Brahma, Nirguna Brahma. Now he is talking something different. He is accepting there is Deho, which is different from the formless. The form is different from the formless. And Sri M says, Dehota ghuche jaba uchit chilo. It was better for Devaki, instead of thinking of getting out of the prison, it would have been better to get out of the body and then merge with the self. Leave this form and then get into the Nirakar. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, when Sri M uttered this, Sri Ramakrishna said, Ki jano, prarabdha kurmer bhog. You know what? Sri Ramakrishna says, the fact is, one has to reap the fruits of the past actions. যে কদিন ভোগ আছে দেহ ধারণ করতে হয়. And then he says, one has to take birth in the body till the time the results, the fruits of the past actions are not completed. And then Sri Ramakrishna says, here's another example. The beauty of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings is, his teachings are never dry. Not that just he comes and, talks about repeat the mantra, do this, do that, do austerities. No, Sri Ramakrishna teaches with most practical examples. Now here, again, he is giving another example. Sri Ramakrishna says, Ekjon kana Ganga snan korle. And he said, one blind person, he went to take bath in the Ganges. Now Ganges is the purest of the pure, holiest of the holy rivers. Holiest river. You take a dip in Ganges and all the sins, they wash off. So he says, Ekjon kana Ganga snan korle. Pap shob ghuche gelo. Kintu kana chok ar ghuchlo na. And Shokoler Hasho, listening these words, he said, one blind person went to take bath in the Ganges, take a dip in the Ganges. As a result of taking dip in the Ganges, taking bath in the Ganges, what happened? All his sins washed away, but his blindness, it remained. It is not that you take a dip in the Ganges and all your troubles and miseries get over. No, your sins might have washed off, but what all the trouble, what all the problems, what all the hardships one has to face in this life, that continues. That no Ganga Snan is going to prevent that. Sri Ramakrishna says that has to be there. And then all the devotee children who were sitting there, they started laughing at this practical example that Sri Ramakrishna gave. That how so many times you may take bath in Ganges, but what you have to bodily suffering, as a result of the prarabdha, one has to suffer. No shortcut for that. Purbo jonmer kormo chilo tai bhog. It was the fruit of actions in the past life, so he had to bear it. This unfortunate blind person, he had to undergo all that suffering. And then, after Sri Ramakrishna told this, money is again another nickname Sri M uses for himself in Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita. Sometimes he uses his own name as master, but sometimes as money. So now money is he replies to Sri Ramakrishna's comment. The example that he gave, money. যে বানটা ছোড়া গেল তার উপর কোনো আয়ত্ত থাকে না, আযত্ত থাকে না, আযত্ত থাকে না. Says, why speak of the past actions, like you said? The arrow once shot is no longer under one's control. The actions one has done in the past births, now nobody has control. One has to suffer the consequences of all those actions that we have done in the past. One has to suffer. One cannot be saved from that. One cannot shortcut all that, those fruits that are to be born in this birth. So Mani says, Sri M says, যে বানটা ছোড়া গেল তার উপর কোনো আযত্ত থাকে না. Nobody has control over the arrow which has been shot. That's it. Gone is gone. So better suffer what has come to our lot. Now, Sri Ramakrishna. দেহের সুখ দুঃখ যাই হোক, ভক্তের গান ভক্তির ঐশ্বর্য থাকে, সে ঐশ্বর্য কখনো যাবার নয়. Sri Ramakrishna says that whatever pleasure or pain the body may suffer, may enjoy, and mostly it is suffering in the case of devotees. So whatever pleasure and pain of body may be, people may have to experience that pain and pleasure, but bhaktir gan, jnana, and bhaktir ঐশ্বর্য থাকে. Says the devotee's spiritual knowledge and the wealth of his love and devotion. What is the Aishwarya of a devotee? Nothing but his love and devotion. Apart from that, what riches he has? Devotees don't have any riches as such. Although they may be living in simple huts, but the heart of the devotee filled with love and devotion, that is their glory. Those are their riches. The love and devotion for the lotus feet of the Lord, the love and devotion for the lotus feet of the mother, that is the richness of the devotee. And Sri Ramakrishna says that the spiritual knowledge and that love and devotion that a devotee has, nobody can take it off. The pleasure and pain, they may come and go, but these riches of the devotees, nobody can take them away. They always endure. It always remains there. Forget about pleasure and pain, it comes and goes. সে ঐশ্বর্য কখনো যাবার নয়. This will never come to an end. The love and devotion and the knowledge. Dekho na. Now Sri Ramakrishna gives another example to bring that point to the understanding. Dekho na. Pandavদের oto bipod, the Pandavas, how many hardships they underwent all their life. They had nothing but suffering. Kintu এ বিপদে তারা চৈতন্য একবারও হারায় নয়. In spite of all these, if we read Mahabharata and if we read the lives of Pandavas, that they had nothing but misery and sufferings and hardships to undergo. And what happened? Pandavas, who had the greatest support of Sri Krishna, the Lord himself, even they had to undergo. But Sri Ramakrishna says, in spite of all that suffering, in spite of all those hardships, in spite of all those troubles that they had to undergo, kintu e bipode tara chaitanya, their spiritual illumination, ek baro horai noi. That didn't flicker even. Their illumination, their faith in the Lord, it did not flicker even for a moment, whichever hardships they underwent. But the consciousness, that spiritual consciousness, that faith in the Lord, that devotion to the Lord, it never got dwindled. It remained as it is. তাদের মতো জ্ঞানী, তাদের মতো ভক্ত কোথায়? And giving this example of Pandavas, Sri Ramakrishna says, where is that knowledge? Where is that devotion? Where is that irresistible love for the Lord? Where is that? In whom we can see that? Nowhere. Those are the Pandavas who had the opportunity of being the richest of the richest. They were sons of Pandu, but deprived of all that kingdom, deprived of the throne, deprived of the riches. All they had with them was the devotion, love, and knowledge. That's it. And with that riches, with that aishparjo, they could suffer, they could undergo all the sufferings just thinking about their Lord, thinking about Krishna, and bearing all the pains, all the sufferings, all the miseries that were sent to them by the Kauravas. So that is what Sri Ramakrishna has taught us in this. Incidentally, the second Parichhed, the second chapter is over with this teaching of Sri Ramakrishna, that the moment we take birth in this body, the pleasure and pain, it becomes most natural for any person to undergo, to experience. But one must have total devotion. One must have total love. One must have the yearning love, faith, confidence in the support of the Lord. And he had given so many examples to us, that how even those devotees, they underwent all the tortures, all the sufferings happily, just thinking their mind, thinking their focus, thinking their attention, thinking their devotion, and the love for the lotus feet of the Divine Mother and the Lord. So that was Sri Ramakrishna's teaching to us through this second chapter of the seventh section of Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita Pratham Bhag. Next, in the third chapter, we will see again Sri Ramakrishna entering into Samadhi, and his beloved Narain meeting him in the third chapter, along with Captain Upadhyay, who was emissary of the Nepal government and a great devotee of Sri Ramakrishna. Captain, and Narendra Agumon. So that is for our next reading as of now. Om Namah Shri Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. Jai Thakur, Jai Ma, Jai Swamiji.